Cool. My vibe is very much just honesty, really. I try and speak from an honest place, so anyone who's listening can just feel that the response is worth listening to. I don't want to try and dress anything up. I don't mind being. I think as vulnerable as I can be in terms of.
Amen to that.
All right.
Mind, body, soul, check. You know what it is. It's Joe Dash Effect in the building. I've got a legend in the building with me. This brother, we linked up through Instagram, and he was putting out so much positivity and so much great things and great work. And I'm thinking to myself, I've seen his face before. Now, even for Black people, we all don't look alike, but you know when you've seen someone's face before, and you know, like, we don't look alike, but you know when you've seen someone's face and you cannot for the life of you, literally, you know those movie montage and the person's in his room with like papers and books and he's looking around in the movie montage and he's trying to investigate something. That was literally me looking around like, okay, in the internet, like, okay, I've seen this guy before. Where is he from? And then when we got to it, and I was like, I've seen him on TV. He's been interviewing all of my favorite artists in the world. Like, personally, I would not be able to talk in front of Nas. Nas is my favorite rapper of all time. I would not physically, my body will shut down and I will not able to get the questions out because I've got a billion questions from Illmatic all the way to, it was like, I wouldn't even know how to conduct myself. So today I'm going to get some tips as well. But this gentleman's been around for so long. And when I tell you his age at the end, you're going to be like, hell no. But don't worry, I'm going to get the secret for you too. I'm going to find out exactly how he stay young, how he stay fresh, and how he been doing his thing for a long, long time. When he was doing this thing, I was in secondary school, put it that way. When he was out there getting to legendary status, I was in secondary school, to let you know what the situation is. All right. So everyone, welcome Fusion to the podcast. Fusion, thank you for pulling up, King.
Oh, brother, epic intros. Let me address all initial questions. First and foremost, I appreciate you greatly. I reached out to you, let the audience know it wasn't the other way around. I thought the work you were doing in the space of health and well-being was on the cutting edge. My show is about influencers, people who make a difference within the Black community. So I was honored to have you on my show. So that's check one, do a future legend thing, and you've already done great things in another part of the industry, which we'll get into. So that's the first part. Secondly, I think you'd be okay talking to Nas when I met him, because Nas was like how you described. He couldn't get his words out. He was the quiet one. He was the one looking down, looking uncomfortable. I'm looking at the God like, you're Nas, you're Illmatic Nas. Like,
I don't even know.
Try and make you feel comfortable. Like, you'll see it in the videos. He's an introvert.
Yeah. That much I've seen from him. But you know, somebody has such. It's like, how do you even? You know what I mean? Because I would want to ask him, like, how do you even stay this humble? I know people who's put out one EP that flex hard on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you are of legendary.
We'll get into all of that.
You know what I mean?
Here for your ride. However long you need me on the podcast, I'll be podcasting.
Bro, we can talk about some music. We got to talk about some music.
And the last point about age, I'm gonna let you know right now. My belief is that we are not living as we should be living as a people. When I say melanated people,
for sure.
You know, when I look at my parents, my mum, she follows the line of a Filipino culture, which goes back to the Eta people, which are the first people to come from Africa into Asia. And my dad from the Caribbean, obviously we came from Africa to the Caribbean.
Absolutely.
On both sides, incredible vitality, incredible physical well-being. But I believe we should be looking amazing through all stages of life. And I learned from you, it's not lifespan, it's a health span.
So, the health span, man. Just take care of yourself.
Timeless, bro.
Yes, no, you got to take care of yourself, man. This body's all you got. If this goes, it's it. That's it. It's a wrap. You dig? First things first, bro. Talk to me. I wanted to go back to the early 2000s, right? What was the culture like in this country? Because when I'm 13 maybe. So I don't have a world view yet. I have the ends. The ends is my world, and the African parties were the extension of my world. So, you know, when my parents would take me to African parties, that was the extension when I would see my cousins. But my world was pretty much Hackney at the time. Yeah. In the 2000s, this is one of, you know, from the late 90s, 97 to 2000 is one of my most influential times with music. What was happening culturally, you know, how were Black people interacting? How was the vibrations at the time in the UK?
We were very much an island culturally. You know, we were importing, things were coming overseas. Or the
Right.
records behind me were bought around about the 2000 era, maybe
Mm.
some just before. These were imported, they came on boats.
Mm.
So when we talked about records, like when Dr. Dre did The Chronic, and Snoop had, Doggy Style, they would say that these records shipped gold or shipped platinum, which literally meant people were shipping enough units that that record would sell that many copies. We're living in the digital era now, but we were waiting, my friends were waiting for the Source magazine to arrive from a boat to the news agent. And it was crazy because the stories were like a month and a half old or 2 months old because it took that long to get there. But Redman was Redman, Dre was Dre, Chuck D was Chuck D. So we were reading the stories. I was a kid growing up on this steady diet of Vibe magazine, Source magazine, and dreaming of being a journalist. So our American culture was the biggest influence for me as a young person, and it was being imported from America. Dancehall culture was coming across, through the 7 inches, Sound Clash, all those things. And we were this kind of melting pot. I think because we were an island, we were just a melting pot. So we blended these styles to make jungle that became drum and bass, that we created our own. Like hip hop was still the poor cousin of American hip hop. So we were repping the culture from like 96. I was in the game 96, 97, trying to get heard. But a lot of the rappers were rapping American because
I was gonna say it was definitely American, unless you were doing like garage and stuff like that. It was kind of
garage, bro. Like 2000, yeah. But I'm talking like wheel it back, 97, 98. The music that was happening was, it was all American stuff, and the garage thing was evolving. Was evolving into what it became. But for an MC, a lot of my friends were rapping as if they were American, and no one too tough had a problem with it.
we didn't have an identity. We didn't know how does it sound with our cadence? Like we didn't even know if British twang could make sense in a rap style format. You know what I mean?
For real.
So we tried it, but sometimes it was just like people weren't feeling it unless you sounded a certain type of way. Yeah. So maybe that could have had some influence on the way we constructed music at the time.
But for real, like 2000, as you mentioned, was we all thought the world was going to end somehow, some way. I know some people got married in 1999 because they thought they was going to die with their wife in 2000. The man woke up in 2000 like, yo, you still here? I'm married.
And them took big loans, sold their house. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, crazy. So I think there was a mental shift in 2000 into a new soundscape. So people like Timbaland, I think, were breaking the boundaries. Lobster and Scrimp, I'm not sure when that dropped, but that was the first collabo between Jay-Z and Tim. And it was weird sounding, syncopated beats. Like
I thought it was that what's that song? That Jigga Who? I thought that was the first time they worked together.
Nah, Lobster and Scrimp. You did Get Out. It's a very odd track, but that marriage of what previously had been the soundscape for Aaliyah and a few others becoming a hip hop thing, some people weren't with it. It was too surreal for them, too abstract. But for me, I was excited. I was just like, hang on a minute. This garage thing is emerging as a strong culture. This double time, Ludacris, Jay-Z, Twista, all these guys. And then we had dancehall, and I just smashed all those sounds together. And I just had a go at creating something that I believe.
You wanted to rap first, right? If I'm not mistaken. Before the journalism kicked off, was it producing?
I had I dropped 16 bars on stage once, and I wasn't bad, but I wasn't great. People stood and watched. Like I was gassed because my group, Execution Squad, they, some of them boys from Hackney, some of them from, I think mostly from Hackney and Stamford Hill, but my guys killed it. They were called LOE at the time, and I was their DJ. So I was there at Flavor of the Month, cutting and scratching, and I was like this, So of course I had one drink too many, went on stage, dropped my 16.
It was all right. It didn't bang the way you wanted to, but they didn't boo you.
Get off stage now, and I was like, okay. this is not my element. So
you got to be honest with yourself, man. You got to be honest with yourself. I mean, at that time, what kind of person were you during these times? Because you've grown a lot since then. But I mean, like, what type of person were you? What were you experiencing within yourself? Just a young man trying to get into a business. Because there's a lot of young people in there that want to get into the business that we've been into. So, what kind of person were you? What opportunities were you seeing? Were you getting in your own way? Were you after everything, or how was it?
I had all of this energy internally trying to find a way to get it out into the world. I just felt massively misunderstood as a kid. I was always rebel misfit, you know.
Seriously?
Yeah. I was skateboarding before black kids were skateboarding. You know, people like, why is this boy on a skateboard? But I was like, because my friends are, and I think it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Straight, simple as that.
Yeah, but I remember I started dating this girl when I was like about 16, 17. And she was fine as you like, man. She was an incredible sister. But I remember she wanted to hang out and I was like, no, I'm gonna go skateboarding. And then I said goodbye to her and I got my board and I skated off. And I think she looked at me and she was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, look at me with this guy on a skateboard. But I always had the courage of my convictions, whether I was skateboarding,
Okay.
whether I was doing, when I studied art at uni, I was the only black kid in the whole campus studying art.
What uni did you go to?
Middlesex Uni. So at the
Middlesex
time,
Uni.
you know, so I've always been at odds with the world. Like I've always believed I wanted to do something and never necessarily had the right environment or the right people. So, you know, I think by the time I became a journalist, it was because art hadn't led me down to the right path where I could be successful. Wanted to do music. Music was tough, man. You know, you to get your record pressed up, meant you had to get a record deal. You had to convince so many gatekeepers. So I knew I was good at English, and I had this vision of creating a magazine. So I just used my passion for English and started writing freelance for a couple of magazines like Hip Hop Connection and a few others. And I just followed my passion. I grew up on.
Wait, let's unpack that. The reason why we have to unpack that, yeah, because I meet so many young people that want to get into something, right? Now, that's how it's just panned out for you. You know, you just like, listen, I'm just following my passion. I'm good at this. What can I do? But this doesn't seem to be the traditional thought pattern that happens when I talk to young people. And when you probably talk to young people, it's never as simple as I'm passionate about this, so I'm going to go do this. There's so many other distractions in their world. When you were younger, did you ever grow up around gang violence? Were you in low income housing? Did any of that affect you? Were you doing okay? Because you're making this thing sound so straightforward, and we want to just unpack that. Like, why was it straightforward if it was? What were some of your challenges? Because I'm sure you had challenges to get in. Because I came in music business. Yes, people, if you don't know, I was in music business for a long time. Okay. And I was reserving that for when Fusion came on, when I can talk to you about that past. But it took so much to get on, like you were saying. It took so much to get on. Like, it was almost impulse. Like, I literally had to stalk 2 public speakers that came to my uni to get in. I had to stalk them, literally, to the point where it's like, listen, until you say no today, do you understand what I'm saying? So I was like, hey, bruh, either that or I'll go back to the ends and go figure out from there. And I don't want to go back there. But, you know, what were some of your challenges? Because it wasn't easy for you. You had to fight your way in. So just talk me through that.
I was talking to this sister earlier today, and I was explaining to her like the cycle of life, in that I don't believe things go forward. I think things go in revolutions. They go round.
Okay.
To look in the past will give you an indication of where things can go in the future, you know?
Okay.
And I know with the Egyptian apprentice system that they had in the time of the pharaohs, if a child had a gift, whether they seemed to dance naturally, whether they were speaking or making sounds almost immediately, or whether they could build things with their hands quickly, you know, there was an innate gift that a child had. And the role of the parents was to align that gift with a master, like a master teacher. And then that gift will get nurtured. And I think children so rarely get the opportunity to find a gift that belongs to them and be nurtured. Like we see on Instagram, you'll see some child, a parent will put up a video of their child, you know, doing some Drake dance, or
Right.
you know, I mean, doing some whatever the parent thinks is cool.
Yeah.
You know, but as far as what the deeper gift is, I don't know if they see value beyond Instagram likes, follows, views, hype. I mean, I don't know, but I know that we all were born with a gift. And by the age of 6 or 7, I was phenomenally good at painting.
Okay.
I was doing all paintings at 7, like of things in my mind. Just I remember my mum kept it, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, thank God for mumsies. Mumsies will keep everything if they could.
They will. Damn bad. But
Everything.
I can almost objectively look at that painting as an adult
Yeah.
and see that I painted this oil painting landscape with a green field that has depth of field, a fence that disappears into the distance. Over the
7 years
crest of
old.
a hill is a meadow. Over the crest of that is a beach. Beyond that is an ocean. There are mountains. There is a sunset. There's ripples of sunshine on the water. I am 7, and I'm painting this from my imagination.
Wow.
So I had a very clear internal world at the age of 7, and I have always kept that internal world well lit, well protected, well looked after. So as I got older, you get, all kinds of social pressures, peer pressure,
Yeah, of course.
economic pressures.
There's girls, there's drugs, there's all the typical stuff. Young teenage.
Yeah, I grew up in Tottenham. I was
gonna say, I'm like, why? Listen, let's get to this. You grew up in Tottenham. How did you swerve this? Because I need to know how you swerved it. Because, bruh, I ran into every brick wall available to get into the music. Like to get.
I knew better, Joe. I knew better. I knew better.
How was it? Parents? Did you?
Well, firstly, as I said to you, I knew I was gifted. I knew I was gifted at an early age. What gift? What purpose of the gift? I didn't know. Which is why I mentioned apprentice system. I didn't have a master teacher.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Show me what. Now, Kelvin Akofa, who's one of the greatest hyper surrealist artists. If you look him up, have him on the show, he's phenomenal. He makes a living and he's globally acclaimed. He had an art gift. He went to the same school as me. He grew up in the same area, but he somehow managed to nurture that gift to the point of mastery. I didn't have a teacher. My mum wasn't going to teach me art. My dad wasn't. I wouldn't get art classes. I wasn't middle class. So I just knew I had a gift.
Right.
I knew I could write. I knew I could paint. I knew I could visualize. I could manifest it. But and what? I'm still in the manor. I'm still living in Tottenham. But I knew I was born for purpose. Just didn't know what. In terms of knowing better, my dad was one of the most articulate, focused, determined human beings I have ever met. This is a man who came from the Caribbean. He was a teacher in St. Vincent, and he was so gifted that he taught his own year group. So he took him out of class and made him a teacher. So he knew he was great. But then to be removed from that and then dumped into a Britain that was still overtly racist, economic difficulties, and him being treated less than, is something he never recovered from. But while he was just chilling, he's somebody who would get a dictaphone and he would read the dictionary and he would record the entire dictionary into his dictaphone. That's like taking your phone, opening up the audio and recording the whole dictionary on your verbally phone into your phone.
That's crazy.
Play for aardvark. And the definition of all of that. And it was normal. He would just lying in his bed like this, listening. And as a kid, I was like, what's he doing? He's analyzing language.
That's the man.
So when that's your dad, and my mom's from the Philippines, it's a very strong family orientated kind of family oriented culture. I had notions of family, diverse culture. One of the first words my dad taught me that stuck with me was the word extemporaneous. I was like, that just sounds fly. Like if I drop that, someone's gonna think I'm clever.
First of all, I would have thought of like the minute my dad told me that, I would have like, how do I put this in a bar? That's the first thing I would have thought about. Like, how do I put this in a bar? Like, what rhymes with this stuff?
This word sounds magical. What does it mean? And it means to be an authority on a subject to the degree that you need not quote text or speak from a prompt or a cue. You just know it. Like when you speak health, you are speaking extemporaneously because the knowledge is now innate. And I just thought words are magic.
Oh, they are.
They're words of magic. You spell, like reality with words.
Yes,
so
definitely.
That's my toolbox. A good education, a strong family foundation, a knowledge that I was gifted in a world of adversity, and then you play odds. You get caught up in situations, and you say to yourself, "If I follow this path, this summer could be the summer where I get too deep into this."
Yeah.
Or if I take my L's, something wrong, but I know I'm made for greater purpose. let me stick to plan A. The plan A was always to get up, get out, be great. Why am I
That's very
going to
important.
plan B? Why is plan B me chasing after you?
That's
You were never
very
in my,
important.
you were never what I was made for. I was
Yeah.
made for my purpose. You are
Yeah.
not greater than my purpose. So I
Yeah.
cannot spend all summer looking for you, even though you did X, Y, or Z. I'm just going to take my L. And when I got onto TV, that was the time like I got robbed by this guy, but this guy knew 3 key facts about me. When he robbed me, I was up in Stamford Hillsides and I was like, I must have been early teens. And I couldn't run because I had a record box. Box full of records, and weighing up the pros and cons of swinging it out was 2-on-1. I got a record box, they got a knife, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not great at maths, but the odds don't look good. Right? So, you know what I mean? Like, the man took the gold chaps. I feel dishonored. I had a presence of mind to keep my money in my sock. So after that happened, I was still able to catch a cab back. And I remember jumping in the cab and just feeling so low. But I looked out the window and the Most High is great, you know, because as much as these guys were hyping it, in the cab as we drove off, I saw them running off into the night. And I'm thinking, if you lot as winners like that, you should be strolling. Now, you lot just like, you're just some snaky guys. Like, if you need to run from somebody who you clearly outnumbered, you know, it's whatever. But what made me that was a defining summer for me, because what struck me was what manhood is, this idea of backing things, defending something. And I didn't have the capacity to do that in that moment, because 3 things just spoke to me clearly. One was the guy knew I was on the radio. So I don't know whether he listened to my shows, whether he was catching a buzz about me, but I was on the come up. So he knew I was going somewhere. Number 2, he knew my primary school. So I'm there in the dead of night. I can barely make out their faces. And this guy knows my primary school, which means he went to primary school with me. Think about that.
He made different decisions.
Think about that. You know, that my parents took me out of that primary school because I think their intuition said nothing great could come of me staying there. And number 3, he knew where my mum worked. And I'm just like, this guy has all the intel on you.
Yeah.
And you got nothing on him. This is his domain. This is his world. I don't belong in this world.
Yeah.
I belong somewhere great. And what was crazy was 4 or 5 years later, probably, I pop up on MTV. I pop up on everybody's screen at that time. It was into.
I'm about to say on every. We all saw that.
And I laughed because I thought, who's sitting in the yard saying, "Yeah, I jacked that guy"? Like, if I was your friend and you say you robbed that guy, I'd be like, "You're an idiot."
Like, look where he's at in life, and you
know what I mean? It's just
came
for
to
greatness.
that I robbed someone that's being successful. It makes But you know that mindset, though. You know what I mean? It's a different type of mindset, and just to the young brothers and the young girls out there in that space, you know, I want to unpack a few things. Fusion has said he knew that he had a talent. He knew he had something in him. He didn't know what the purpose was or what was to use it for. Like he said, he was still in the end. So now he's got his realization. It didn't just automatically change his life, but he always weighed his options and always took the route that led him to where he wanted to go to, because he could easily let his ego get the best of him in that situation. And messed around and got stabbed. You know what I mean? Or even worse than that, got killed. Or even worse than that, you might have turned around and killed one of them. Like, the way we make decisions is very, very key. And we always have to keep certain things on our forefront, and don't let ego confuse you, because ego will confuse you and make you feel like that chaps was worth dying for. When realistically, when we look at how your life panned out, hell no, the chaps is small. You could afford to buy the iced out platinum version of it when it was all said and done anyway. So I want the young people that are listening to this to really understand about choices. And that's one of the key essence of this podcast as well, is giving a testimonial so you know how to make choices. This is a successful entrepreneur that made choices. Look at the choices, and we want to look at those choices that you have a talent that you knew, you had nurturing, and most importantly, you just felt it within yourself that, listen, I'm going to take my L's, but I know where I need to get to. So whether it's your rap, whether you're playing football, whether you want to do engineering, go uni, whatever it is, never trade your talent or your destiny for the moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? For just that moment, because that's how a lot of the young people get caught up, you know, in those situations. They just make because I relate so badly, because when I was getting into the music business, that's literally how my mind was. Like, studio was above everything. So I don't care where we were. I don't care if he was the finest girl on the planet. You see, if my phone rang and Manda will go into the studio, everything lock off. It was just that simple. It wasn't even like, oh, what I'm going to do? I invite everyone here. I will leave my own birthday party. If Fusion told me back then, the studio time, you need to come in at a time where it was almost rare and impossible to get into the studio, and it was expensive. And it was expensive. Do you understand what I'm saying? So man, I had to put money together and all sorts. But I always made a decision like, yo, I've got olders in the ends that I can look at. They've already shown me what's waiting for me on that side. You know what I mean? And I knew from young, I'm like, listen, I'm not a tough guy. So what really am I doing? I come from a good home. I have a great relationship with my family. I'm like, what am I doing? It makes no sense. And that's very key for people to know yourself. Don't let your ego lie to you and tell you it's bigger than what it really, really is. So I definitely wanted to highlight that point. Put your purpose at the forefront of your mind at all times. And don't worry about it. The world's going to call you all sorts of stuff. Do you know what I mean? And always trying to, what the youngest tell me, draw outs. I don't know if you heard that term, draw outs, right? And really and truly just ego at the end of the day. And this segues me to the main meat of the subject for today, which is self-love, love.
Before you segue, I just want to double down on what you said.
Yes,
This festive season, I was watching the Queen's Gambit.
You know, you're watching that?
Being so dope, bro.
I've just started. I'm on episode 2.
Right, it just got me. Episode 1 was just like a movie in itself, but it got me back into the chess mindset. And we call each other kings and queens in this age, but to really move like a king, you know, you're going to be that piece that stays on the board. When the king gets checkmated, the whole game done. And a lot of the time, the situations we find ourselves in, we lose pieces, we make sacrifices. But you've got to let go of certain things in order to win the bigger game.
Oh, you have to.
That's pride sometimes. If you're an Olympiad, you just got to get up at 3 a.m. and go training like every time to go and get that gold medal. So just have the vision of what you want to achieve and be prepared to make the sacrifices. Sometimes it's people doubting you. Sometimes it's your partner doesn't get what you're about when you're young coming up, or your friends are laughing because you don't want to come and go party because you want to go studio or whatever it is. But have the vision, develop the strategy, take the L's for the small losses, for the big win, and then revise it again afterwards. Man, that's what
that's exactly it. And I want people to make different choices, because at the end of the day, we got one life to live. And it's cool to get old, man, young man, then, bruv. It's cool to get older, you know. Like, I love being married and having kids and all this stuff. I love this life. I know you guys think it's boring. It's really not. This is how I knew I was getting older. I started enjoying basic things. So, like, even having fresh socks. Me and my friend over there was like, oh, I had a nice fresh pack of socks. Oh, bro, I love when I get. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Are we?
It gone too far, man.
No, seriously, we just kind of. Do you know what it is? I realized that when we were younger, our life was so hyper. Everything had to be on 10. We had to be at the award show. Everything was on 10. So after years of thinking all your happiness is external, is in this dream. And then you grow to understand that true happiness comes from within. You find your peace and you find your stride as a human being. You lose appetite for a lot of that other crazy stuff. You enjoy dipping in it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to go party and turn up like everyone else. But for the most part, I have no problem sitting down and grabbing a book. Like, I have zero problem. Whereas when I was a teenager, no way. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I want the young man out there that's listening to be like, yo, it's cool. Like, you can still look fresh, look good. It's not that. You can just enjoy other things. You know what I mean? Because it's always, sometimes people struggle with getting older. They don't know how to let go of certain things. You know what I mean? And even back to the chess thing that you're talking about. Imagine that if you're playing chess, right? And every time one of your rookies was in trouble, you pull the king out. How ridiculous would that move be? For anyone who understands chess, you don't move that king for anything. It has to be dire or part of a 5-step strategy ahead for you to move that damn king. So you being a king and you being a queen, do not move unless the scenario absolutely causes you to move. And if you're going to move, it has to be the first step of many. It can't be the only thing you looked at, which is short term. You know what I mean? So you do BMT Black Man Timing. Is that what it stands for?
Black Man Time, Big Man Things.
Big Man Time, Black Man Time.
Coming more together. Like it's an acronym with legs.
So. With legs, right? That does different things. And I think it was you that was talking about Black Love stories as well on his Instagram. Cool. I always tell people this. What people like a fun fact people don't even know about me. My memory is horrible.
Okay.
I know it looks. I know all of my
So far,
students.
so good, bro.
Everybody be like, Joe. I've heard you do speaking. I've heard you lecture. Shut up. What do you mean your memory's? I'm like, I'm telling you. I can't explain it to you. I can't. Yes, I can sit here and lecture for
I love that, bro. You just lecturing and say, right, to tell me circadian rhythm. Tell me what happens at 11 o'clock. You don't even know the answer. You're just asking the audience, like, yo, that's correct. man be feeding off the crowd.
I don't imagine that. I don't even know the answer myself. I'm just asking the audience, like, do you know? This is what's happening. But it's I want to get into, you know, the reason I'm into Black Love Stories because I want to really get into the concept of loving self.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's why I brought you on today about loving self, because you can always, in my older age, in my 30s, I'm more into vibes than I was in my 20s, if that makes sense. I don't know when the switch happened, and I can't even pinpoint if it was a specific situation, but I just got to a point where I read an energy from someone, and I start to like that energy. I'm like, whatever this energy is, I'm with it. I'm about whatever this, and it could be the person just unpacking presents, and it could be somebody else. I don't care what it is. Yeah. So I think you put the Black Love Stories up or something like that, and I was just like, interesting, because I will talk to my friends and we will talk about the concept of love and what it is. And what is this thing, and how does one love unconditionally and versus conditional love and unconditional love, if people can separate the difference. Because I was saying, basically, I'll always start stuff in my group. I'm the shit stirrer. I'll start like, hey, I don't know if there's a difference between being in love with someone and loving someone. I think it's semantics. And everyone went nuts. They were like, no, there's a big difference. And I'm like, intimacy might be the only difference. And then I'll play devil's advocate. I really don't know my damn self, but I'll play devil's advocate. But it allowed us to unpack what that is. But talk to me about the Black Love Stories, and let's segue into the concept of love and what that is to you. And you got children?
No.
Oh, children. So you got a partner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's love been from you growing up and learning what this love is, and how have you infused it? Because bro, you radiate nothing but love when people talk to you, how approachable you are, the content and what you're giving the world. So I just want to know, like, what does that mean in your life when you hear that word love? What's some of the layers or thoughts that come to mind?
Okay. Well, firstly, I appreciate everything you just shared and said, bro. You know, all we can do is try and be somebody said, like, beautiful is be yourself to the fullest. That is beautiful.
That's cool. That's cool.
You know, and there's a lot of words.
Be yourself to
I can resonate with that for sure. Just speaking on several different levels, my main pursuit is just understanding self. That was unraveling the mystery of, why do I know how to do this? Why does this make me laugh? Why does this make me angry? Why does this make me sad? Like, what are these triggers? Why does this thing inspire me to go in this direction? And I was always into reading, studying. You know, me and my boy Double Ace used to sit there while his brother MC Det was traveling around the country shelling it on the mic. Me and him used to just play R&B, hip hop, and just sit and listen to Ivan Van Sertima tapes and Joseph Ben Cannon. And we'd study the masters and all the things about ancient Egypt. That's how our Friday night was, just fun as zoo.
That's so funny. When you're saying that, I don't know why I'm shocked here, but don't you slightly feel like you lot are the only one reading this stuff at the time?
A word.
Like, didn't you feel like that? Because I'm shocked now. Like, bro, I thought I was the only one that knew who Dr. Cannon was.
Or this was secret knowledge. There was
Ivan Van Sertima, all these people.
Yeah, they came before Columbus. You know, we was there, little enclave, just seeking enlightenment. But on ends, we were down in Clapton, Murder Mile, and we were just there in a yard over the weekend, just bunning and reasoning. And that was my foundation. My boy Ace very much brought me into the world of consciousness alongside Public Enemy, Chuck D, and all of those things. But it just comes from trying to understand myself. I think a lot of people can't love because they don't know self-love.
You got to know self-love.
I'm not saying I know, I'm saying I'm seeking it. And by seeking that, I might be able to love others better.
How do you seek self-love though? Like, unpack that for me. How do you seek it, self-love?
To a degree, it's observing yourself. You know, when things are going well, we tend to just roll with it and just feel lucky. When things are going badly, we tend to feel unlucky and
that's when all the questions come out. Nobody asks questions when they're happy.
yeah,
All the questions come out when they're feeling low. Like, why is it like this?
First time I went bowling. I was just there. Knocking them down. Second time I couldn't knock a damn thing down. Now I want to study the game. I'm like, what is it? Is it the wrong side ball? Is it the roll wrong? So
the technique, it's a strategy.
Yeah, it's just observing yourself. Why is it when I'm winning, I just feel blessed, and when I'm losing, why is it I want to blame people for things that are going wrong in my life? When it's going well, I want to take the credit. Why? That's negative and positive. They're equal, but my approach to both are different.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me unpack that. Well, maybe I'm making assumptions. Maybe I should have more gratitude. Maybe when things are going well, it isn't just me. Maybe there are other forces. And equally, when things are going badly, maybe it isn't just me. Maybe there's other forces. So it's just like balancing it out, and then just looking at, simple things. When say do unto others as you have done unto yourself. Just, when someone doesn't honor an agreement, let's say I make a deal with someone and I hold them to account. Like, you haven't done what you agreed to do. I can pin them to the letter of a contract. But if I had an honest moment with myself and say, have I done some deals where I just didn't follow through on that deal? Maybe someone didn't hold me to account, but I know I didn't, and it just gives you a little bit more latitude just to say, listen, some things you're gonna have to write them off. And if you don't want to be judged,
right,
do little less judging in the world. If you want things to go well for you, be open to the possibilities of wellness and greatness coming from wherever it may come.
Yeah.
When we're prescriptive about everything, that this person owes me this and this person that, when the blessings come, it's like that person didn't owe me anything. I've got a mentor right now who came into my life because of a random guy just seeing something I did and just saying, I respect how you approach that. Me and him having a conversation, and then he just told me, no real motive, I'm going to Germany. I'm leaving the country, but here's my email address if you want to stay in contact. I was like, I know people I've worked with for 2-3 years, won't even send me a goodbye email. They leave the company. I see them pop up on LinkedIn working somewhere else. This guy, I don't know him from a hole in the wall.
Wow.
But dude just said, look me up. So I messaged him while he's in Germany, and he just replied back. I said, yeah, me and my family, we're settling in, we're good. Cool, nice. Then literally a few months later, here's an application to be on the board at the Tate.
What?
I'm like, this is for the wrong guy. Me on the board at Tate Britain? Tate? Yeah, it's you. You can do that. And I thought, you don't know me, but maybe I don't know me.
Yeah.
Maybe you see something in me
that I don't see myself.
So rather than me expect my brethrens and my Adrians and everyone's close to me to be the lookout, let's just say randomly, this guy is the lookout. Just randomly. I don't know him. He's a white guy, middle class, part of a big institution I've just joined, which I joined randomly as well. All these coincidences, which are really cooperative incidences if you cooperate. So I cooperate.
Wait, no. We ain't still that. Bro, wait, that's bars. Wait, we're gonna have to. What's the line? Coincidence or what?
Are cooperative incidences.
Cooperative incidences. What is that?
That means something happens, and you can either go rah, mad thing, and walk off and tell your friends about the mad thing that happened, or stay in the moment and unpack it so it's no longer mad. It's just a happening. And if you cooperate with it, you cooperate with the incident, it reveals itself. Like I have this little joke I tell myself. I say unicorns are real. Because when I see one, if I don't believe they're real, by the time I see one, I'm gonna go, rah! Oh my days. And by the time, what they're gonna do? It's gonna run off.
Yeah.
And now I just got a mad story. I say, yeah, I swear.
Probably nobody will believe you about.
I want to come back with a gang of them. I want to come walking down the street with like 5 of the bravest unicorns. Like, yeah, not only are they real, 5 of these ones is rolling with me. Because you know why? When someone says something is not possible, I don't have to agree.
True.
I could just say, I believe it's possible. I don't have to convince you. Let me just cooperate with the possibility of it, and I'll come back to you. So this guy just said, you could be on the board at the Tate. I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay, what do I have to do? Give me your CV. Sent my CV. He's like, that CV needs some attention, love. Like, man, don't get jobs with a CV. You know, I got my actual CV is my swag, my company, my accomplishments. I don't go hand CVs in for jobs. But I was like, okay, humble yourself. Update the CV, wrote the cover letter, and I make it. Rewrote the cover letter. Deadline, 1 hour before the deadline. Hit the button. And all I thought was, I did right by the opportunity.
It is what it is after that.
It is what it is.
I cooperated. Now it's the universe's time to do this.
Went back to my grind, work on my project, whatever. Whoop. Message. You've been shortlisted for the interview.
Wow.
So now this guy is becoming my mentor, and he helps me on the journey. So I then get ready for the interview. Now I'm taking it seriously, researching the history of the Tate, all of this, that, and third.
We're getting to
my craft, getting ready. I'll go into the interview, and there's about 4 or 5 people in this room. They're all looking official. You know what I mean? Like, the floor's got checkered chessboard floor. You know the ones? Yeah. I'm walking in there. This is the corridors of power, right? Being interviewed, man's just being himself, you know. I'm just like, if you're gonna have me, you're gonna have who I am.
Yeah, exactly. Not a version of me, but actually,
not a version of me. I'll just be my authentic self, telling them what I would do if I was in this position. One time, the sun was shining through the blinds directly onto my face, and I'm sitting there, and a woman just like, "Do you want us to close the blinds? The sun is in your face." I said, "No, I'm good. I'm a Leo." And it took them about 3 seconds to catch the joke, but I was just like, "Sun's on me. I'm sun. I'm blessed.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. That's why I'm here."
I got down to the last 2.
Wow.
And then I get a letter saying number 10 are considering your appointment. I'm just like, I didn't even know number 10 even knew I was trying to do nothing. I didn't even know. I hope everything's straight with number 10. You know what I mean? So I got the letter saying I got the job. Wow. Amazing. The joke was, it was the wrong letter because it was supposed to be addressed to the other person, and they sent it to me by accident.
Okay.
Now I'm just like, wow, what is this cooperative incident?
I'm about to say, what is that now? Why is it getting sent to me?
So close and so far. So I never got it, but I thought, you know what? I learned that I can achieve anything that I want to achieve. If I'm open to possibilities of greatness that others see in me, it can lead me down a path of progress. I got shortlisted for any future opportunities, and now I have a mentor who's absolutely amazing, who's guiding me on my next part of a journey, which I would never have considered if I didn't listen to this guy that I met once in my life.
You know what's so dope about that story? So inspiring, yeah. You've opened up a whole new channel of thought, because as you're talking, I was like, is that a new definition for love? Cooperating with infinite possibilities? Because when you're talking, I just keep thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, is that another way to understand what love is, or self? Because if you didn't love yourself, you would have sabotaged every moment. That's the first
100%.
You would have sabotaged every moment if you didn't care for yourself enough to say, hold on,
100%.
What's this and what's going on? Because you cooperated, Jesus Christ. You cooperated. This word would not defeat me. I will not have it. You cooperated in an instant with a stranger, because the world, I believe the universe will send things into your path. 100%. But now the way you're breaking down is opening my mind to another way to articulate where you have to cooperate more with the divinative, with what's divine.
Absolutely.
The problem with the human mind is we try to understand it. If we don't understand it, we leave it. We fear what we don't understand is the saying that we say. But in that situation, you just got to love yourself enough. Because when we say love yourself, I know a lot of people might be thinking like, how do I know I've loved myself? That's a question I've gotten from people before. But I was like, when you, and now I've got a better way of explaining it, would have been that just cooperate with that inner self, that true self that knows, like, we should have done that CV, bro. Oh, we should have called my man back. Cooperate. Do not cooperate more with your ego than you do with your inner self. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you will always be short-sighted and not see as that. But is that fair to say that when we look at self-love or just love in general, there's a bit of, you have to cooperate with something that you may not understand? Because being married for as long as I have, I've realized being cooperative is cool across the board in every relationship if you want it to grow. And because I try to, I'm trying to find another, because when I use the word compromise, it oversimplifies it to a degree, and some people don't like their version of compromise is just all over the place in relation to what their partner is or what their friends are or whatever it is. But cooperating is to me, from just even hearing you speak that talk about that story, is just really sitting there watching what's going on, weighing the odds, like you said, and aligning your actions with your vision in that moment. That's how I look at cooperating. How do I cooperate? Well, make sure that you said you want to be a rapper. So, and then this guy's come and says he's got studio time, but he's got equipment and dirt. It may not be the shiny thing. You know how it is when you're young, everything that glitters is gold to you. When you get older, you know better. You realize, no, everything that glitters is gold. Because if nowadays with these kids and you want to mentor them and stuff like that, who they look up to is the person that ideally matches what they look at themselves as. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the reason I say that is because some of the most influential people in culture are not academics. It's not an engineer, it's not a doctor, it's not a lawyer, it's not none of that. It's entertainers for the most part. If you're talking about influence, right? If you look at if obviously social media is what it is, but even if you look on social media, some of the biggest followings that people have are not academic and stuff like that. It's entertainment and sports.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But realistically, when we start to look at, how to just look at those coincidences as not coincidences, but as opportunities to do something about it. But you have to love yourself first. How do you do that when you don't love yourself? So what I'll throw the question to you is, when you're starting to love yourself, what would you say? Give me 3 things specifically that young people should pay attention to when they're learning to love themselves. Because a lot of them have trauma. A lot of women have, men and women, gay, trans, wherever, all the human beings, we all have our traumas. Give me 3 key things that you've learned that those people can use when they're learning to love themselves.
Silence the noise, I think, is the number one thing. There is so much noise, there's so much sound, there's so much distraction, distortion, and we know the answers. The definition to education is educere, which is to find from within, to bring out from what is in you out. That is one of the definitions of education. That's my favorite definition. So
it's in you and bring that out.
Yeah, you're born fully formed. You're born perfect into an imperfect world. And of course, there is always going to be a challenge when people project onto you or suggest or encourage certain things of you. But as you start to learn to trust your innate feelings, how you basically feel, then you can start to work out how to navigate. And I think a lot of the time we surrender that navigation to what the best job that would pay, or what people social standing. If I do this, other people will like me. But do you like yourself? Do you know yourself?
Right.
And it's really difficult to have a public dialogue about that. I think it's something we kind of look at meditation and we think to ourselves, especially for young people, hopefully it's changing. But meditation isn't the cliche that people suggest, which is this whole thing of crossing your legs and
with candles and
all right,
not
that. It can be that, but even writing a rhyme, writing some bars, making a beat is a form of meditation.
For sure.
Because you're trying to find something inside yourself. There's a melody in you you're trying to create, and it comes out, and it's a pure expression. And there's no external noise. It's just you expressing yourself and listening to your inner voice. So as I've got older, I just have become more and more humbled by my inner voice. And the inner voice isn't this. It's not the sound in your head.
Thank you for
Sometimes,
because naturally I would have thought you're talking about you're in your head, but
man, we said it at the very beginning. Like, the only aspect of you physically being here is having a body. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and we arrive in this vessel, this craft, and you can refine it, develop it, fine tune it. Some man get a car and they tune the car up and they put the rims, they make it nice. your body, if you fine tune it, performs well. And when it's struggling, it will show signs of trauma or difficulty. And never underestimate it. When I can't make a decision, you know what hurts the most?
What?
It's my neck. My neck hurts the most. You know why? Because I'm like, mentally, I'm always, should I go and do that? Should I roll with that? Should I stop doing that? What's that person saying? I get that. Sometimes because I'm a leader and I put the whole game on my back and I'm there doing 4 or 5 jobs.
Yeah.
The pain's here.
Okay.
On the back, you know? And then when I'm overthinking things, it's the head that aches, you know? And I know, you know, when something moves me, when we have poetry on Black Love Stories, my heart sings. And then when something makes me feel uncomfortable, I get a gut instinct about it. So your whole body is your instrument to tell you how you feel. So you start trusting that. You know, they teach us through a lot of the drugs and pharmaceuticals to numb your senses, to dumb down your body's intelligence.
Right.
I'm learning to trust it a bit more and having a bit more humility and stop letting the head dictate everything. And allowing my heart intelligence, my gut instinct to be as trustworthy as my intellect or my emotions. You know, I think the emotions can propel you. I think emotions are drivers, but the decision maker can come from a different place. I don't think it's always an emotional thing, because once I lose it, all bets are off. You see the worst of me. You'll see me now. You think, oh, Fusion, you sound like a really cool guy.
Bro, I was about to ask you, thank God you said that. I was like, come on, bro.
If I lose it, if engine overheat.
There's a lot of Tottenham in you. I don't care how much you've grown. I know that for a fact.
I disappoint myself every time. My language, my energy, the velocity of my voice.
That line, innit? We're trying to be the best version of ourselves, but we're not robots. We feel things, and we're not going to make every great decision. But we're talking about here, what we're talking about really is just that mindfulness, being in that present moment and saying, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling this, but cool. Wherever I can keep it peaceful.
The thing is, that high power, high velocity energy in your face, if I have a problem with you, is a problem. But when I'm on a stage and there's 500 people in a room, or I'm on TV, I need to amp up. So for me, it's just like, you know what? Don't beat yourself up that you get hype. Just find a suitable place.
Exactly.
50 years for the motorway.
Works.
You know what I mean? 50 years for the motorway. If you're tearing through some back roads on that, you're going to go hurt somebody. But on the motorway, 50 years is beautiful.
It's beautiful, so,
yeah, for sure. My stuff is the introvert in me, the quiet guy in me. It's like some of the deepest, most useful things happen when I'm dreaming, when I'm resting, when I'm letting myself escape from the world. And I'll come up with an answer that's so aligned with the moment. And I walk in and I execute, and people think I'm a wizard, bro.
That's when
a guy called George Washington Carver. One of the greatest.
That's when you steal the noise, isn't it? What's the other two bits? You steal the noise. What else?
Right. I just want to say George Washington Carver. He was somebody who's created some of the most incredible inventions.
In that peanut, the guy that created many for peanuts, right? Yeah.
Right. And so much more. Like he basically solved the.
I love peanut butter, so I definitely want to find out the guy who created.
That's one thing he didn't do. That's the one thing he didn't do.
Oh, okay.
What he did do is use not peanuts, but use like nuts and different things to make rubber tires.
Oh, to make rubber tires. Sorry, not peanuts.
Yeah, but lots of other things.
I remember reading about him. I brought a little book about him and just trying to learn all these iconic people. So what's the other two bits? So you got to be. Because we're going to get to some books that you're reading, because I want to know what you're reading as well. You know what I mean? So we're going to go into some books you're reading and some of your favorite album collections. But before that, the other two parts, you need to give it to us.
Right. Okay. So Still Yourself, number one. Remind me the question again.
So just three things. So the first thing is Still Yourself in terms of, so basically the question is, give us three things for people that are learning to love themselves. So if they're learning to love themselves, how do they even begin to do that? There's some people that don't know how to love themselves. Yeah. They're people pleasers. Cool. They think that's love. But one is still the noise. Get rid of all of that. Align yourself with those different intelligence, like you're talking about, not just your mind, but your heart, your gut intelligence, and lining those things up so you can trust. And I love the fact that you use the word trust. you have, and I say this to my clients all the time, trust your own process. Your process is not going to look like the next person's, right? So trust yourself. So I love the fact you use that word. So now there's two more things you were going to
Okay, cool.
on
Right,
how
gratitude.
to love yourself.
Gratitude, man. I know it sounds almost too obvious, but a lot of the time we only express regret when we no longer have something. You know, if you're physically well, suddenly when you're injured, you miss being able to walk or run or do those things. So expressing gratitude opens the possibility of getting more of the things that you love.
True.
And the last one is really just compassion. You know, compassion for me is something which is underrated. You know, we tend to lack compassion for ourselves. We can be very hard on ourselves sometimes, and that can be debilitating. You think to yourself, I could have done better. Well, then do better.
Yeah.
You're still here.
You'll
get a second, third, fourth opportunity somewhere down the line. This life is a revolving door. Be ready for the second time that thing comes around and be prepared for that. So compassion for self and compassion for others as well, because, you know, people will let you down, but they're not here for you. They're here to go and live out their lives and their values. And who's to say in 5 years time, that person who let you down is the person who lifts you up? You don't know. Maybe the thing that you asked for, you don't need anymore. So for me, we can waste a lot of our time angry at the disappointments, whether our parents weren't the best, whether our best friend snaked us out on something, whether a deal went bad. In my case, a record deal went bad. In my case, my MTV career came to an end, not because I wasn't good, but because somebody decided to make a power move and I wasn't involved in their strategy.
Right.
You know, and that ate me up for a little while. And I had to really get that poison out of my system because it was only doing me harm, being angry at the world.
How did you come to that point to get that out? Because that could really sting. But people don't understand. If you fight so hard to get into position and someone takes that away from you, it can feel very, very personal. Definitely. So how did you work through that?
I would always keep 2 or 3 things in momentum, in motion. So if one thing went wrong, it's like having more than one bank account or having, you know,
you start creating contingency plans then.
Yeah, so I had contingency plans, but when all of them went wrong, every contingency plan, the escape pod had a hole in it, you know, I mean, the parachute, you know, ripped, like everything went wrong.
I always tell my wife, I was like, sometimes I feel like life does things to humble you. I was like, because when it's going bad, it goes all the way bad. You're like, I've done nothing. I've been good. What's like, bro, do this.
Oh, this is it.
It's like, you know what?
I went from, I had a lyric, I said, I should have saved some cash. I guess that's just life. I went from 45K to a P45 and I'm broke. And that was just me laughing at myself. I was like, hang on a minute, you were the man a minute ago. Now you're at the job center. And, you know, hitting rock bottom and then slipping and falling more. Just like, whoa, I didn't know there was rocks. I didn't know there was a lower level than this, you know.
Nah, life will show you there's levels to everything.
I remember just saying the only way is up. So let me see what that looks like. And I remember being in a car park in Cheshunt, in Tesco's. I got a job from an agency that paid me less than I'd have been paid if I was signing on after tax. So I was technically losing money being there. I'd have made more being signing on. But those 2 weeks where I sat in that car park teaching people how to use a recycling machine, it gave me time to read, because I would sit in my car when there weren't customers, and I made 3 phone calls. One to a TV company I used to work for, saying, you lot need, at the time, a MySpace. I said, you need one. You need to be with the times. So I will help you design one. The other customer was somebody I used to write press releases for. I said, you've got a website. You really could do with updating your website once a week at least. And I will happily do that for you once a week for £75. Here's my proposal. And then the other one, a friend of mine, Lawrence Latte, who's doing great stuff in the world of education now. He said, you know, I hear, you know, you want to get into education as a teacher. And I was like, I'd be interested. I'll keep an eye out for you. And then Flow Assist from Floetry, you know, she's a good friend of mine from back in the day. kind of not strange turn of events, but I've always loved wordplay. So I named Flowetry. That was one of the kind of curious moments when I first saw her and Marsha. I just thought what they were doing was unique. I just said what I thought it was, and they ran with their name. So besides that, we've always been friends.
Gave them the name Flowetry. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, but it was easy because it's just like, you know, when you see your missus' a dress and you say that's the dress that you look good in, it doesn't fit you.
Anyone listening, please go and Google Flowetry so you can understand who we're talking about. Just none of this.
I just saw it, bro.
If you don't know who Flowetry is, if you're too young to know who they are, this is not.
Yeah, just 5 minutes. They sold 5 million records. They work with Dilla. They work with.
So you can understand the levels these women and how groundbreaking their music was. You know, right? This is a good segue because we're going to go into some of the classic albums and how they influenced us growing up with love. Because Lauryn Hill was one of them, first and foremost. Lauryn Hill's Miseducation album, the one you got back there.
Before you jump on, just to wrap up on what I was saying, there were just 4 things I put in the fire. Like, Flo Assist reached out, Natalie Stewart, and she reached out and just said, "Would you consider managing me?" And I was just like, I don't have any real management experience, but if you would like me, I will cooperate with the possibility. So I ran with all 4 of those things, and all 4 of those things manifested. I ended up becoming running the special projects and the website and marketing for urban development for a number of years. I created Industry Takeover, helped create UDVC. We helped get Labyrinth off and running into the game.
That's so cool.
Shazar, all that stuff evolved into many other great things. Dio, who worked with Chip and them, you know, she came through those ranks. Many great young creatives came through that. Industry Takeover was just a building block for a lot of the next generation to learn marketing, management, publishing. The TV company.
I've been once, I think, with someone. I was taking a few young people there, to be honest, because in my mind I was like, "Yo, you don't need to get involved and learn every chance you get. Like, just go and learn everywhere you can go. Like, just go and learn." Because I was in 2003 is when I could say officially I got into the music business, and I was very young. So, but I loved every minute of standing in West End with my CDs. I loved every minute. Even back then, I was like, I don't care if this is all I have to offer. I cannot and I will not stay stagnant. So even how you bounce back, instead of being bitter and being angry with the world and just full of pride and embarrassment and shame, which normally can happen to anybody, you just got to work. You used the opportunities where there weren't much customers and you just kind of got dug in like, hey, start making them phone calls. And I'm old school like that because I believe in picking up the phone. Like, I really want to phone people but this new world has made me feel weird for doing it. You know what I mean? People, I've had experience where people give me their number and I call them and they're that weird. So I'm like, I don't know if that's ever happened to you. You're like, okay, give me a number. Then you phone them because you gave me your number. And they make you feel like it was inappropriate to phone them. You're like,
how long did you leave it, Joe?
I phoned like a week, in all honesty, a week.
Can I tell you, like, a good relationship the first time is like fresh food. If you have it the same day, it's good. Next day, it can be better. After that, you got to start thinking of throwing it away.
Okay. See, I was doing
it wrong, man, because it's a vibe. Just like food. Food is alive. A conversation with someone carries electricity. Yo, I bet this guy Joe was dope. Like, great energy. Love what he said. He said the thing about food is not your bae. Yeah, he's that guy. And then I go out, I have an argument with somebody. Someone cuts me up at the traffic lights. I go and see my mom, she's not well, you know, and this, that. And then you call me, who are you? My energy's changed. I don't remember your energy.
Yeah.
It's strange to me. So they call them cold leads and hot leads. If it's a hot lead, keep it, you know what I mean? 48 hours, that's all you got, if you're lucky.
Yeah, true. No, that's true. Could explain it. Because in my mind, like, I don't find myself in positions wanting something from someone. So I kind of just think, okay, cool. Hey, whenever you're ready, man. I don't know. I'm like, wherever you're going through, whenever you're ready, hit me up. It's no problem and stuff. I'm like, yeah, bro, no problem, bro. I'll call like 5 days later. Then it's like, what? And I was like, oh, my bad, bro. So I'll text you instead if you want me to. They're like, then we'll figure out later on, and they're like, yes, all good, stuff like that. Because I just don't know what people are going through, so I never personalize anyway.
I'm gonna tell you this for nothing. Like,
Yeah.
I liked your work for at least a week or two before I reached out to you.
Oh, seriously?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh,
I studied. I was just on your Instagram. I thought this guy, he's doing the most. I like it. I'm checking out the platform, cool. Then he went on Instagram Live. I just sat in the cut, watched the Instagram Live. Cool. All right. I'm building up my understanding of who you are, how I would approach you.
Okay.
And then what people are looking for is themselves in your introduction. So when you go and reconnect with somebody, it's either you know them sufficiently that they feel connected because you said something about, if I said to you that thing you said about food is not your bae, you would reply to me because I've done sufficient research about who you are. Or law of attraction, I would use the energy of what I want to achieve and involve you in the energy. I'll post something about you. I'll mention you in my stories a couple of times in my feed, and you will go to reply to me after I met you. You know what will happen? You will look down the Insta thing and you will see there been 4 or 5 interactions before where you've liked something where I've just posted about you. And you'll be like, huh? I just met him the other day, but clearly he's been mentioning me a couple of times. That level of resonance connects people. It never fails.
That's dope. That's actually that's a massive tip for people listening. That is actually a massive tip. You know what I mean? Because then on top of that as well, it definitely feels more genuine because you've taken the time to kind of observe, watch, and interact in the right way. Because obviously we're in a social media era where people impulsively react and not give things much thought. But it's dope when you genuinely, because me, I'll be on social media just genuinely trying to create a network of just things that influence me in a good way. So my timeline looks healthy. So that's always been my thing. So like I'll just watch people and I'm like, I like this. I like this. What's this Black Love story thing? I'm like, I like that. What's all that? Because I'm pretty much into, you know, I'll tell the youngest that I know, I'll always make things that are outside of their realm of entertainment, because I feel like when you're young in this generation, it's like all their mind is tuned to entertaining. So anything that's entertaining is what will get their mind over anything else. So I realized like, okay, cool. Make sure that I always tell people them like, look, make sure you understand if you want to go meet people or do stuff, don't worry and overthink it. If you genuinely like the person, watch what they're doing, look at them and find a decent way to interact. Don't just jump out the blue and then be upset if you don't get what you want back. You know what I mean? So it's good to just observe, watch, get to understand what the person's about, and then be like, okay, you know what? This is the vibe I want to go with. Just that few more extra minutes of thought can make all the difference into how you can really connect with people. So I think that's an important gem. Now I want to talk about music. I want to talk about the music because that's my first love. Was music your first love?
No, I told you, 7. I had no interest in music. I had no interest in music at all.
I remember the first day I fell in love with music. It was MC Hammer. Can't touch this. That record, I was very fortunate. This is my blessing. I'll tell people, this is where I realized as an older man, I was very fortunate. I had a very young mother, right? And all she listened to was R&B and hip hop. That's all she listened to. So if you come to my house, you might hear Illmatic playing. If you come to my house in the 90s, you might have heard Jay-Z, Can't Knock the Hustle. You might have heard Mystical. You might have heard No Limit. You might have heard SWV. My house was just rammed with all this. And I'm an MTV baby. I call myself an MTV baby, meaning while everyone else watched a bunch of cartoons, my eyes were glued to MTV. Ed Love and Dr. Dre, most of you people may not know who they are. You may not know who they are, but I used to watch everything on MTV and music became my universe.
Freddie, come on.
Became my Marvel. You see how you guys love Marvel? Music, MTV was my Marvel, and all these characters played a part. And there's the first 2 singles of songs that I told my mom I wanted. So this is my own consciousness now saying I want to listen to this music. Let's go to HMV and Virgin. All you youngers listening don't even remember HMV and Virgin. You don't even know what I'm talking about. But we used to go to HMV and Virgin, and they used to have headphones. You can hear the sample of the music before you even bought it. And I remember going with my mom. My mom's buying a thing, and I picked up MC Hammer and Will Smith, Boom Shake the Room with DJ Jazzy Jeff. I can't remember what album it was off, but those two CDs, the first two CDs I purchased. And literally after that, I started learning about Wu-Tang, started learning about all this underground rap stuff. And that became my universe, and that became my world. And then when I started to understand that the females could rap heavy, and I need to pay my attention to the women, was MC Light. And I was like, she's the coldest thing I've heard. Then that door opened up to the Left Eyes of the world, the Debrats of the world, because my uncle loved Debrat. And I'll take all this music in my head swirling around. And I knew, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do in music, but I've got to be a part of this some way, somehow. And I tried rapping just like everybody else. And what will happen, I grew up in Hackney. So now when Mandem said they rap, and this is when I started to understand there's so much brilliance in the hood. There's so much brilliance that's often cut down early by mindless violence and just the condition. But the brilliance of the wordplay, like I would hear people rap, and I knew there and then that I wasn't a rapper, because there was Mandem that were special with the wordplay. It was just, that's the only way I could describe it. Do you remember Terafema Kalashnikov? So now one of the guys there in my ends with one of the elders, and they were rapping. And that's when I realized, oh, there's a craft to this thing. You don't just put words together. There's a craft. And then man was saying words. It was like listening to Nas or listening to any of them. The level, if we're talking about just lyrical skill, was on the same par. And they were doing it British-wise as well. It wasn't even like it was sounding American either. You know what I mean? So I was influenced by all of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Coming up, obviously Tupacs and the Biggies and of the world were definitely there. But it was, I fell with that whole Nas era because of I Rule the World song. And that song kind of spoke to my youth. If like my imagination could, what would I do? What would life be like if I could take my friends somewhere and stuff like that? Wow. So I said, if I saw Nas, I wouldn't even know what to say to ask this man about songs he made and how he made them. Because when I got to uni, I realized how music affects your brain. And I realized it's a real thing. Like music really has a massive impact on your mindset. So listen to all that music culturally, it was a massive thing to me. So I kind of fell in love with music, and I was in music for a lot of years, doing a lot of things. And then I started to just hustle, man, and just whoever. I bought this thing called the Unsigned Guide. I don't know if you remember it. It used to be a thick book of the music industry directory.
The yellow with the black.
In my opinion, but it was thick, and it had a directory of everything. It had publishers, labels, studios, PR companies. It was just a buy. It was called the Unsigned Guide. I will never forget this book. This book used to cost £35. I know it sounds like nothing, but we're talking about early 2000. £35 was nothing to bat an eyelid at. It was still good money. We're talking about a time where £1 could get you 3 items, like a packet of crisp, a Panda Pop, and a chocolate. Yeah, so £35 was no joke of money. Yeah, but I bought that book and I would phone through it, like every label, phone through it. I'm like, I went from trying to find a job to doing it for free. My mom was like, "You're 15. No one's gonna hire you. Like, go and get work experience, work your way up." And she was breaking it down to me. And then I realized, okay, I got a call for it and changed my approach. And I got in with some, there's a black-owned company called Love Productions or something like that. Can't remember. Okay. Love Productions. And from there with Oceans, they used to run the summer university programs. From there, when I went to college and uni and stuff like that, I ended up at EMI for a brief period before they got bought over. Then I was back to square one again, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I've had my run then. I didn't understand. I was like, wait, I thought my life was going to change. It didn't. I was back to square one. They fired us. And I was heartbroken, completely heartbroken. So after moping around the house for like 2 weeks, my mom was like, so what you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. It's like, exactly. I said, if you shrug those shoulders until you're 18, you're going to get up out of it. You're going to have to find something to do. So I was just like, all right, cool.
Shout out to Mumsy, man.
I was like, what's the next move? And my mom was like, yo, read the Music Business for Dummies, learn. Then I started reading it. Then I ended up, working with Warner a little bit. Then I had my first label deal with University of North Carolina International. And when I look back, everything you're saying, success always leaves clues. Everything you're saying resonates so hard I just knew that I could do it. That's all I needed. I didn't have no real talent in music because I couldn't produce like to that level. But I just knew like, I can do this. If Diddy can do it, I can do it. We can do this thing. And then I had Miss Dynamite come to my area and shoot her video, It Takes More. And I remember Tubby T coming to my ends, making music. Rest in peace to Tubby T. I remember actually shooting Bullet Boy in my blocks in Hackney. All these people, to this day, I still find over like Mega Man, Swiss. Like people need to understand. One thing I don't like about the UK is that we have this thing about how we treat our legends. And I hate the fact that we do not embrace that status the way the Americans do, because these people are iconic. Do you understand what I'm saying? And we do not we do not hold our legends high. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but I don't know if you ever observe that, because the Americans will tell you, Chuck D is the greatest. These are the godfathers of rap. LL Cool J, they will tell you proudly. In fact, man, them in America want to fight you. If you try to tell them that Kumo D and all these guys went the thing, they're ready to fight you and stab you if you say their man weren't doing their thing. So for us in the UK, I still appreciate all of these guys, because for people like yourself, everyone showed young black boys out there that, it can be done. You know what I mean? We just needed to see it, because we had to use our imagination, because up to that point, I thought I had to be in America. But just watching and seeing these people, I'm like, they look like me, they talk like me, they dress like me, but they're stars. So I realized, I don't have to change who I am. I don't have to talk different. Just get on my grind and I can be there. So to me, it's very, very important that we acknowledge a lot of our icons. And you lot were doing it at a young age as well. This is the thing that's blowing my brain. So solid, everyone's doing this, and you lot, how old are you? Early 20s, 21, 22 maybe? Like super young. I can't even think of the position with no blueprint before you to know how to navigate this. You know what I mean? What's been your experience in that kind of sense?
I mean, firstly, I just had to sit back and enjoy your story, man. This is how we connected. I had no idea you were part of this music legacy when I reached out to you, because your ability to convey your knowledge of health and well-being was enough. And me, you just chopped up on the phone for like about almost 2 hours.
Time to sleep.
My battery died. I was like, call me back. Yeah, battery died, man. So no, salutations, respect, bro. And I just really enjoyed your story, man. I thank you for sharing. And there were so many intersections. What I love is that we're like mirrors to each other. If we pay attention and just put our egos aside for a minute. And I just love what you said about Kalashnikov, because he's one of our greatest wordsmiths. Period. And when he came out, the level of honor for my guy when he dropped was phenomenal. He created his own. Like America had Queensbridge and he had Jankerville. He just created this world of like, just somewhere between dance hall and hip hop and road life, something unique. And I remember being a fan and being blown away by him. I was with Fallacy. We were doing our lane of hip hop.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a little bit more, I don't know, it was just different. But I appreciated him, and my boy Darwood said, if you and Clash got together, it will be a madness. Like, you produce for him, it'll be dope. And I was like, how do I get him? He goes, here's his number. So I called him, and I ended up at his girlfriend's house. He was like, he was having some shower or something. I'm just sitting on the sofa with his girlfriend watching TV and the mobiles, and I was like, I'm waiting for Kalashnikov to come out. Like, this guy's the great hope of UK rap, And I played in some of my beats, and he was like, yo, that one you thought was for me? It's not really me. That one there, love that one. Cool, take the beat. And what I remember was the mutual respect. He loved what I'd done with Groundbreaker and Big and Bashy. I loved what he'd done, with all the works that he was doing. Murder, the whole catalog was fire. And what I realized was he appreciated my music, but I don't think the game would have understood a Fusion Kalashnikov collaboration. It was a real kind of underground, dungeon, dark, raw sound that the UK was pushing, and I was pushing for something bright, something energized.
No, we definitely dark them times.
And
we definitely
we never got the collaboration off the ground. He came studio, we laced about 5 or 6 different instrumentals, freestyling, vibing, sick, and he never came back. And I felt crestfallen that I never got to work with one of my, But then there was this Hip Hop Connections did a top 5 Klashkov interview, and they said Klashkov, his top 5 UK rap songs ever, and like the whole game was like, yo, who Klashkov's top 5 songs be? And I had 2 in there.
No way. 2. That's incredible. Oh, we lost you there. All right, you're gonna come back on. But that's incredible. I mean, it's so crazy when you follow your purpose and then you find yourself linking up with people that you are kind of running parallels, because Fusion was definitely out way before me. But, when I came into music at the time, that was the passion, that was the love. But one thing we've learned this whole podcast is self-love is a real thing. You need to trust yourself. You need to not doubt yourself. And more importantly, you need to figure out how to just trust your process. Trust what you're going through. Trust, that it will work out. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's very important that you understand that. We lost Fusion on a technicality, but I will definitely be having Fusion on again. We got to do a part 2 of this and really dive into how music is influencing young people and how we can inspire, and really get people to kind of look at music a different type of way and how to express it. But I've had a great one. I hope you've been listening. You had a great show. It's just it's just so much gems, so much jewels. I want to thank Fusion so much, man. I'm just a fan of him. I've been a young man and just watching him on MTV and stuff like that. So it's been dope. This is the Joe Dash Effect, live and direct. Peace, love. I'm out.